All of the things that I looked at, I said, when I looked at some really, strong businesses, they have started to standardize processes for training and development and hiring people and product development and pricing and all those sort of things. I said, if you took some of these standard procedures and operationalize the standard procedures and then apply them to, irrespective of the size of the company, a $30 million company or $1 billion company, you could actually create improvements. And that's what basically gave me the wherewithal and the idea to say, we should create a group. In this case, it was a value creation group that has a set of subject matter experts. I have almost as many people in that group as I have in the investment team, who really focus on driving operational improvements in businesses. In some cases, it's operational improvements to enhance the growth rates of the businesses, finding the right salespeople, deploying them properly, training them properly, creating the right incentive structures, to grow the business. In some cases, it's a reduction of cost, elimination of waste. How do you deliver, that product in a more efficient format to a broader group of customers at a lower cost over time? How do you then also, consolidate in many cases, the infrastructure of that organization? How do you migrate from on-premise to on-cloud? All of these are components and elements that make up our value creation team's practice. Our value creation team has well over 100 of these best practices that they have to evolve, of course, because technology platforms evolve and approaches to the market evolve. It's a major migration. Of course, we went from on-prem to the cloud, and then mobile first, and now we're in another major migration, which is Gen AI first, right? So all of those elements have to be factored in as you're driving operational improvements and performance in businesses. And I thought, what better way to do it than what ultimately was a pioneering way of building an operations team that has specific functional areas that they focus on, develop specific subject matter expertise, and then apply those really intentionally into the enterprise software companies that we have a chance to acquire or invest in.
Robert, it's funny because there's this famous quote from Henry Kravis from the early 2000s when he said financial engineering is dead.
Mhm.
And what he meant is exactly what you are laying out, or you have foreseen. You saw something that other people didn't see, which is that out of the three core value levers that we have in private equity, which is EBITDA expansion, multiple arbitrage, and leverage, the EBITDA expansion would become by far the most important source for value creation. And building the system of operational experts and then with a clear focus on software is absolutely unique. Uh, Look, let me talk about the past 18 months. They haven't been easy, in particular when it comes to tech investing. Uh, what are you seeing on the ground? Have the famous gap in terms of price expectations between buyers and sellers, have the expectations come closer together?
It's a great question, and I'll give you just one overlay on the earlier comment. There is one interesting dynamic in the world of enterprise software that is a little different. That dynamic, it still is a winner take all, winner take most markets, and so while there can be a tremendous amount of emphasis that is driven on the three areas that you outlined for value creation, one of them is how do you go capture market share quickly and effectively. When you hold customers, again, the retention rates, net retention, gross retention rates, those customers, because these businesses are, zero capex type businesses, you have the ability to extract long-term economic rent from customers because you create a tremendous amount of value for them. But you have to go capture them. So there's an important aspect of in enterprise software in particular to actually going and creating what I call product superiority. You have to actually go out and get the customers and demonstrate product superiority. It's the reason why Excel exists and Lotus does not, or and VisiCalc and Multiplan do not. And so there's that overlay that you have to take into account as you're making your acquisition. So when you sit back today, to answer your question about the last 18 months, what you have to discern is which companies have the potential to have product superiority or are already the superior product in the marketplace. And you have to look at, the different levers of, gross retention, net retention, and utilization. Are your customers utilizing full capability of the products that you are selling them? All those are important factors. In the public markets today, we've seen a very interesting dynamic in the last 18 months. A lot of it's driven by, I'll say, the real appetite around Gen AI. Okay, so once there was the introduction of generative AI into the marketplace, it captivated the attention, and a lot of the investment dollars started flowing in multiple ways in that direction. It has a massive amount of utility, high productivity output, which we'll talk to a little bit later in this conversation. But what has happened in the public markets is it has actually dampened the public market enterprise software companies' valuations relative to other companies. And so, for the first time in quite some time, when we had loose monetary policy, et cetera, enterprise software companies have become affordable and more affordable in the public markets. And so, what you've seen us do over the last 18 months or so is a lot of take privates in that marketplace. We look for companies that have that product superiority, execution excellence capabilities, but have now fallen out of favor in some respects by the public market investors because they're now turning their attention to call it the new thing, which is Gen AI at this point. And so we think that in buying those companies and bringing operational improvements to them, because of the retention rates with those customers, we should be able to infuse those businesses with Gen AI capabilities and capture more economic rent by providing tools and solutions to those customers through our portfolio companies that now will accelerate their growth and accelerate their profitability.